let's talk about some of my favorite heroes that I was able to use in the Godforge Alpha Wave 1 experience. And obviously some of these might get fixed, some of them might get buffed, who knows, or nerfed. We do not know what's going to happen in Alpha Wave 2. However, the experience that we was able to have with these heroes to get what their kit is all about was honestly so cool and so interesting, and I had so much fun playing this in Alpha Wave 1. And what we're going to do is honestly go through, as you can see if we go onto the rarity, all the different heroes that I have been able to use, unlock, and play with in the game that I honestly thought was interesting, fun, and basically my favorite heroes in the game. And I'd obviously love to hear your favorite heroes, because you might have got different heroes that I didn't get, such as Heimdall or Hercules, right? I don't have any of those two heroes in my team, so that just kind of showcases, right, we're still missing pieces out of it, right? So my first hero, as anyone can kind of see, is gonna be Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is been just the king, literally the king of heroes. That is exactly his title, and he rides that with just pride, man. He is just wearing that with so much pride, it's unreal. Because the thing is, when you look at Gilgamesh's kit, which a lot of people said, you know what, Gilgamesh doesn't have a very interesting kit, and it's like, dude, all he's about is dealing damage. And if you just need someone to deal damage, that's perfect, because not every single hero needs to be applying a debuff or buffing themselves or doing all this weird crazy stuff, right? Some of the just simple things in life are the best, right? And honestly, heroic charge, just doing an obscene amount of damage with that 20% chance to strong hit. And when it strong hits, you feel that monster truck one shot the enemies, right? It's so satisfying. It is crazy. And on top of this, what makes him so good and why he was one of my favorites is just his A2 is just so much AoE damage that even when you think, all right, I've got a lot of damage on my A2, you're getting even more the lower HP he gets. So if you're able to get him down to like that 50% threshold and then rock a bunch of barriers and shields, so he basically can't die now because he's just super safe with all the barriers and shields, you've just got a flat 50% basically extra damage basically onto him. And that is bonkers when that goes off, because you just can't believe how much of a damage increase it really is on that A2. So he's just the guy all about smashing. Like literally, this hero is just about smashing. And if you've used Gilgamesh, you know exactly how I feel, because he's that fun and just so, I don't know, it's just so satisfying to see the big numbers in the game when you use a Gilga. And I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section down below though. What is the highest number you hit with a Gilgamesh? Because mine on my live stream was, I think, 108 or 110,000 damage with that A1. It was just absurd how much damage we was able to reach, right? So number one of my favorites easily was obviously our good friend Gilgamesh. And kind of following suit on that, my second favorite hero, honestly, of the patch was Icarus, because a lot of people start a game with their starter hero, which I obviously did with Lady Shock. She was my starter pick hero. However, very quickly, I was able to unlock Icarus, and I just started using Icarus from like wave 5 or 10 or something in the game, and just started to be like, holy smokes, this kid is basically a mini Gilgamesh. And that's the best way of explaining him. He just does an absurd amount of damage. He just does literally this obscene amount of damage, even applying a raise on his critical damage and strong hit damage by 5%, and increasing his own attack by 20% when defeating an enemy. It is nuts what this hero can do, especially in the early game, mid game. And I know I shouted out Adam and told him, guess what? Just use Icarus. You won't fail it, I'm telling you. And he realized he needed the damage. Like, his team was really good and everything, but damage was just one thing he was lacking. And honestly, Icarus was the game changer, and he just was able to smash out floor 150, the entire Alpha Wave 1 experience with a full rare team setup. So GG on you, dude. Especially if you're watching his content, you should check him out. Really good content creator for Godforge, right? But yeah, Icarus, man, he is just, wow. I love this hero. Obviously, the only thing I dislike, and I will be honest, is the wing animation. I don't know what it is. I'm just not feeling it in-game. In-game, it's just too much, and especially when they start obviously clipping through enemies and that, I get it, right? But I don't know, I'm not feeling it, especially on 2x speed, it goes kind of mental, right? But apart from that, he's definitely and was my second favorite hero in this Godforge experience. And going on the rare train, my third favorite was Scaddyy. And oh my lord, Scaddyy was a surprise. She was a surprise that I didn't know I ever wanted in life. She was like the Christmas present coming soon for Godforge, which already felt like a Christmas present because I was playing Alpha Wave 1, right? And it's because of just how good Scaddyy is at just locking people down. And I am going to be doing some individual hero spotlights on maybe all of the heroes we're talking about today and other heroes that I was able to use maybe during my live stream in technically today as I'm recording all of these videos, as well as tomorrow during the live stream. But she just does everything you need. And honestly, in the Alpha Wave 1 experience, crowd control like freeze or confuse or stuns, right? All of these different effects, they were really hard to come by. I'm going to be honest, for a good hero to be really good in that, there was only 2 heroes that really fulfilled that. And I'm not going to talk about the second hero in this video because I really didn't get to use them that much, but I saw how good they were. We will make a whole spotlight on them later down the road. But Scaddyy is just fantastic. I'm telling you guys, because of the freeze on this, you can obviously combo her with joint attacks as well to get multiple freezes off in one turn. You can have the AoE freeze on her A2. Then you've got the speed down. If they're frozen, they get speed down too, which is just, yeah, okay. And whenever you're hitting these freezes, yeah, it's just crazy. It is a crazy good hero. Do not sleep on this hero. I'm telling you, she's that good of a hero. Top 3 in my opinion in this whole experience. She's that good. Right, moving up though. Moving up. Kind of talking about a hero that does bring all of us together, and it's kind of one of my first legendary heroes I did get, which was Aphrodite. Aphrodite arguably was one of my favorite heroes in this game, because the thing is, if you have an Aphrodite, you start to realize she's like the glue, right? She's like that extra cog in the big wheel of the clock that's actually making it all turn. She is the engine, right, of the whole team comp, because even with her, you know, ultimate, which is really nice, it's a really nice ultimate that is bugged during Alpha Wave 1, but it gives you the speed up and the initiative 2 and increases the turn meter and divinity of all allies. And that's kind of, to be honest, what you use it for. You use it for the speed up and the divinity mainly. Obviously, the turn meter is nice, all that jazz, right? But these are ones that I noticed you used it on the most, because you're able to ultimate with the Aphrodite in one turn. And like, for example, we've just kind of mentioned, you could then go to like an Icarus, right, and use Icarus's ultimate because he was maybe just below the threshold, and now you've got that divinity needed, and then you can blaze everyone. Maybe you can then, in her turn, which we're going to kind of talk, you can E2, which targets one ally and places a speed up 2 and initiative up 2 buff that lasts for 2 turns, and it can't be blocked or removed, which is very important. And then you gain an extra turn. So once you put this buff onto an ally, this is going to be really important, because when her A1 attacks, you attack one enemy, but any allies under the speed up 2 and initiative up 2 will join this attack and using their default ability. So this is just going to be whatever their basic ability is, which is basically what our Lover's Duet is. This is very important because you got to think in one turn on this Aphrodite, you can ultimate, like I said, ultimate with your Icarus to do a bunch of damage. You can now E2 your Scaddyy with the Aphrodite all in one turn, by the way. Obviously, then use your joint attack to freeze down an enemy because you've got a joint attack now with Scaddyy and obviously Aphrodite. And then on top of it, it could be still your turn and it might have been enough to use, you guessed it, Scaddyy's speed up or speed down 2 ability. She's just so good, honestly. And the more you start to play the game, you start to realize how good Aphrodite is. She has almost infinite combos in this game. You can combo her with obviously Anubis with obviously his basic one attacking two enemies, attacking one enemy 2 times. But when you defeat that enemy, you have that despair placement on all enemies. This is crazy that you're able to try and apply this basically in 2 chances just by comboing these 2 heroes together. You can also, in certain scenarios, some people have tried it. It was fun. It was fun, but stuff like even our good old Sphinx. Our Sphinx here does an attack all enemies. And even though we're doing this attack down 2 and blunt 2, and this is obviously for 1 turn, you're going to think you're going to be able to do this for 1 turn and then do it again the next turn. So it's going to add it up and add it up. But it's the beauty of all of the AoE. You just get a ton of AoE damage with her. You can also combo with our good friend Odin, right? Odin's going to allow you to attack one enemy and put a charm on them. So if you give him more opportunities for charm, guess what? He's not going to take that much damage. So there's so many heroes in the game, I'm gonna be honest, that I'm honestly hovering over right now in general terms that can combo with that Aphrodite and any of these heroes that are on screen that I'm flicking through that can combo with Aphrodite in this game, and you're gonna get some sort of benefit out of it. That is just why she is one of my favorite heroes. I used her throughout the entire game because she was that good, and she just made everything just feel so much better in the game, right? Now, moving on to the next favorite hero, and this is kind of gonna combo everything over what we've been talking about, which is gonna be Shamash. Shamash was just game changing for me, and the hero is a support, but he's an offensive support hero that does enable you to do some really funky things as well. Because the support side of him is his ultimate that no matter what, if you have a Shamash up and say your Aphrodite or your Gilgamesh or your Anubis or your Ra, anyone, if anyone dies for the first time and they drop down, right, this will immediately trigger, which revives a random ally. But obviously, if there's only one ally dead, you're gonna get the guarantee on them, which is what you want. Then you get 30% HP and 30% turn meter on that hero. You place Radiance 2 and Attack up 2 for 2 turns on all allies, right? And you can see there's no scaling on this because it's all in the actual text. Also heals all allies by 30% of their max HP and places a barrier equal to 100% of the over heal. So like, this one skill just gives you everything you honestly want on an offensive support. You can revive a unit, you can put a Radiance 2 and an Attack up 2 buff on all of your obviously guys. You can put a barrier on everyone, which normally does occur because most of the heroes are going to be full health with the right team comp with healing and a bit of shielding involved. So this was just really, really fantastic for the support. But the true power of our Shamash is his A1 and his A2. His A1 attacks an enemy and allies with the lowest divinity will join the attack. And this is just so good to use, right? Yes, if the target's under Aether Burn, this will increase the turn meter of all allies. That is such a nice benefit too, and you'll see his A2 does trigger that. However, this is just one skill on its own that made me honestly fall in love with Shamash. I honestly think Shamash was my favorite hero, possibly in the Alpha Wave 1. I'm going to be honest, he really were. Because the thing is, what's really good about Shamash is that one line of text. Because you could be in a scenario where when you're comboing, you're obviously got certain heroes at different divinities. And if your Aphrodite is high, and you've got maybe your Gilgamesh as well, that's high on divinity, well, what you can do is some really cool things, right? You can use like your Gilgamesh ultimate, or should I say, you can use your Aphrodite ultimate first to blow her divinity down on purpose, to then use Gilga's, because once you do that little trade-off, her will be at 0, but Gilga overrides it and will be at 0 a second, and for some reason that will take priority, meaning you can force that Gilgamesh to obviously attack with your Shamash. Also, in other scenarios, let's just say you have everyone on full divinity, everyone's got their ultimate ready, and you're in a bit of a pickle and you need to lock down an Isis or a Heimdall or, I don't know, Pangu, you name it, any of these heroes you can see on screen. Just say you needed to lock one down, you can instantly use Scaddy's ultimate to put that speed down 1 on the enemies, knowing that now when you attack with that A1 on Shamash, guess what? She's joining the attack, and she has that chance now to freeze and lock the target so that it skips their turn and you're not going to be worried about it. I just think things like that is what made me love this hero compared to a lot of the other heroes. So another reason why I liked Aphrodite so much, because of how well this A2 and A1 combo really worked in the game. And the thing is, Shamash's A2 is the same thing, and it promotes this type of gameplay because you can attack a single enemy, but all allies join in the attack with a 75% chance to place an A for burn 2 buff on the enemy for 2 turns, right? And this is, again, just super cool, because when you've got a team, for example, like Shamash, with a good old Anubis, and let's just say a Sphinx and an Odin, so that's your 4 team, and you E2 with this Shamash, well, you're going to get a giant AoE that has a 40% chance to put a blunt 2 and an attack down 2 on each of the enemies. Then you've got this guy coming in doing his attack, which has a chance to despair all the enemies. And then we've got our friend like good old Odin, who's just going to put his charm on them, right? And that's all from your A2, and you're able to just to lock down and do just some insane damage too with the right combinations. So I love this hero. He's so good, and honestly his passive just makes it an icing on the cake. I know I've not really mentioned the other passives on the other heroes, that's just because honestly I didn't really take too much note of it, but with this one you can feel it all the time working with the A1 and the A2 in the game, right? So really good hero, right? Moving on though, another hero that not many people might say, but one I really did enjoy actually using for quite a lot of the run, was Set. Set was very interesting because at first, in the Alpha Wave 1, we didn't think there was going to be a use for him, because when you look at his abilities, they don't honestly seem too, I wouldn't say too crazy, right? But they're interesting. His A1 attacks an enemy with a 75% attack chance, as you can see, to initiative down 1 on all enemies for 2 turns, right? And instead of the target with aligned and on order, right? So if you've got order, you get a 2-turn initiative down 1 buff, right? Debuff on you. If you're not, it's going to be like 1 turn, right? When you go into his core ability though, you attack an enemy and you have a chance to steal 2 random buffs and decrease this ability cooldown 1 turn if a buff isn't stolen. And this is what's really good about this skill, because it deals over 400% attack, which is an insane amount of damage to a single unit. But when you are going against certain heroes, like, you can guess it, your Isis and Horus and all of these different heroes that are really good at placing buffs and making them unkillable, Set became a all-star because you was able to steal, honestly, all of the men buffs for him, for example, and you can be able to steal just so many buffs off them through Set, and those stealing of buffs is what changed the game and allowed you to push through. So I honestly really do like Set. I think maybe he could get a little bit more love in some area. I don't know what it is, what's missing about him. Maybe it's his A1 that I wasn't 100% feeling, but even his ultimate is amazing. There's a chance to place a despair for one turn is just great. Even though it's a 50% chance of doing it, it's still worth it, because that one turn lock you might apply onto the enemies, it's just game changing. It was really game changing. So I honestly really did like Set. Really good hero. Honestly, a really good actual one of my favorite heroes I were using. And coming to the end and final hero that I honestly really did enjoy using in the game was Brynhild. And I've been using her more and more often, especially once you kind of awaken this hero, because I do think when you awaken free the hero, it does change her, because she also places the shield, which is very important for her kit. Because when you look at her abilities, her A1 attacks an enemy and has a 50% chance to place an attack down 2 for 2 turns. And if you awaken her once, you have a hero is under radiance, you increase the damage inflicted by 50%. So it is a nice amount of damage, which is kind of like a tank, so you don't have to worry about damage on this hero. You just kind of there to take as many hits as possible and kind of buff as a defender unit, right? Because when you look at the A2 and the ultimate, this is what I really did like. Obviously, her A1 is powerful, no doubt, but her A2, place on the defense up 2 for 1 turn on all allies, then placing an intercept on the ally with the lowest HP. This is just so good, because intercept redirects an attack to the hero that placed the intercept. So if you have, for example, a Shamash, an Aphrodite, an Isis, you know, any of your supports, the Isolde, right? Any support in this game that you've been using and they might be low and they're about to die, if you put this buff on them, right, don't worry, they're not dying, because any attacks going to that target now is going to be targeting on Brynhild, who isn't going to be taking any damage. She really isn't. She's just there to take hits and take hits and take hits. It's beautiful when you start to see it play off. But then her ultimate removes all the disables from herself, then places Radiance 2 on all allies for 2 turns, and can be used while under disabled. So all of that text there is what her ability normally does, which is quite good, because even if she's frozen, despaired, you name it, you can still trigger this ultimate on other, obviously, turns and whenever you need to use it to get out of the CC for yourself. And more importantly, start to place this Radiance 2 buff on yourself, which reduces and reflects 20% of the attack damage received. But when you awaken free Brynhild, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning of it, you place that 250% defense shield now on all allies. Yes, like this is what makes her really stand out, and honestly a fantastic tank unit that I am super happy to see in game. Honestly, this Valkyrie does do an amazing job, so I honestly really did think she was one of my favorite heroes in the game. And there is going to be some honorable mentions, because that's going to be my list over and done with, and I do want to hear your favorite heroes in the Alpha Wave 1 before you go mad and say, Sneaky, why didn't you not mention these heroes? I will just give honorable mentions to stuff like Zeus, obviously our good old Isolde, the Ramses, Shock, as well as, where is it? There he is, she. But let me know what epics, what other rares, what legendaries you really enjoyed using in Godforge, and I'd love to hear that feedback from you guys. And let's see if they're still going to be this good in Alpha Wave 2 and obviously Alpha Wave 3. So if you want to see more Godforge content, you know what to do. Smash like, comment, and subscribe. Till the next video, stay safe, stay sneaky, guys. Peace out.